This is the hard thing for us as parents when we feel guilty that our kids suffered some trauma and some damage and they're living within those limitations now as adults, and we see that. I think we can put words to it for them if they don't have those words to understand, and we can even take ownership. I wish I would have done it differently when you were little. I wish I would have been able to speak out. Let's say that your husband abused your daughter and she had a broken arm because of the abuse. And your husband refused to let her go to the doctor, and you were too passive to let her go to the doctor too. So now she's an adult and she's got this bum arm that she can't stretch, and she can't play tennis, and she can't do anything, and I think it'd be wonderful to go to her and say, this happened to you when you were a kid. I know you've been, wounded. You've got this arm that's not working. Why don't you go to the doctor and see what you can do to fix it? And she might say, well, I can't afford it. And if you can afford it, say, I'll help cover those expenses. I think that's fine for a parent to do if you have those resources. If you don't have those resources, I think it's important for you to say, she might say, well, it's not my fault it's this way. You guys didn't take care of it. And you might say, you're right. We didn't take care of it when you were a kid. But now I don't have the power to take care of it. Only you can fix your arm. You're the only one who can go to the doctor about it. You're the only one who can take the surgery. You're the only one who can do the physical therapy. So I hope you do, because I think you get more range of motion in your arm if you do the work. And so I think this is the hard thing of us as parents. We feel guilty that our kids experience some hardship and suffering, and maybe they're living out some of those consequences. But how they live them out is somewhat up to them. So is she going to take ownership of her funky arm and do something about it? Or is she going to live limited and say, well, it's because you did this that I have to live limited? She doesn't have to live limited. She's choosing to live limited now because she doesn't want to take ownership for getting her arm repaired. I remember working with a woman who had two daughters, and she married a man who sexually abused her daughter, one of them. And she was too scared to do anything, and she put up with it she didn't say go ahead and do it, but she just ignored that he was doing it. And later, she finally got strong enough to kick him out, but by then the damage had been done to her daughter, and her daughter she admitted that to her daughter when they were adults, and she said, I'm so sorry, and I want you to go to therapy. And she ended up coming, working with me, and I worked with her daughter and then brought the mother in, and we worked with the mother-daughter relationship. But the daughter is the one who had to do the work. The mother couldn't do the work for the daughter. The daughter had to say, my damage is me. I got to work on me. My mother didn't, my mother maybe contributed to this, as did my stepfather, but now if I want to live a healthy life, I got to do the work. Nobody can do that for me. My mother paid for it, but even if she couldn't have paid for it, the daughter still has to do the work. So the mother could pay for it and the daughter still didn't do the work, right? And so this is so important for you. Yes, we might feel some responsibility or some guilt. Who doesn't as a parent? We had a conversation at Thanksgiving with our kids and said some things, hey, if we had to do, why does God give us wisdom when we're so old? I wish I would have known some of the things I know now when I was raising my kids. I said, I didn't know it then, And so I'm sorry that you felt that way, or I'm sorry that, you didn't feel as supported as you could have back then. But if this is your story now, what are you going to do about it? Because this is your story now, right? So this is where we can help our kids shift from victim mindset. I was victimized as a kid to, okay, how are you going to write your story now? How are you going to write your story as a dad? How are you going to write your story as a mom? How are you going to write your family story? Are you going to repeat the same story you had growing up? Or are you going to learn to write it differently? That's up to you, right? That's up to you. I can't write your story. I can only write my story. And I'm sorry that the first part of my story, I didn't even take any responsibility for writing. I just let Dad write it. And I was just passive nobody. I'm not willing to do that anymore, but I can't write your story. And I think these are empowering words to share with our children, that they don't have to live in victim mindset either.